Hello, YouTube! This is Lefty79, the commissioner of the NFL Stableford League, back after a long absence on YouTube with the NFL March Madness Selection Show. Wow, I'm pumped to be back. I am on some major high here with all the work that's been done to get this thing going. We got forum signature badges that are coming your way later on today. In a link in the post in the forums. Actually, I'll probably just send those out to you all individually. The bracket is complete. The matchups have been decided. As you can see, we got the Madden 22 update. So we are all set to go. We have the Super Bowl matchup from the NFL Stableford League on the screen right now. And I never really gave that final recap for that game. But as it was two powerhouse teams in Don Tag Rockets' New York Giants taking on the Cincinnati Bengals of future Buckeye 11, otherwise known as Jason CK. And it was Jason CK's Bengals who got the job done and won 28-26 to capture the Lombardi Trophy and win the 2021 NFL Stableford League. So big congrats out to the Bengals and Houday Nation, and I hope they're all doing the Icky Shuffle today, getting ready to see where they land in March Madness. Both of these teams are going to be very tough in the tournament, I can tell. How long will we have to wait to find out where either of these teams end up? Well, we're not going to have to wait very long, as I'm going to get right to it here and announce the East Region first round matchups. And we're starting off with the Buffalo region, actually the Buffalo bracket, as it is going to be at Cold Spring Hunt Club. As we start off the proceedings, what team do we have first coming out of the gate here? Which team is going to go to Buffalo? Now it's very cold there right now, but this team is not probably used to that, as it is none other than, I gotta get used to the new setup here. I gotta get my alphabetical order going here. It is none other than the Las Vegas Raiders of Chinatown, who are going to Buffalo to take on, who's it gonna be? Oh, it's the Cincinnati Bengals! It's the Chinatown Raiders taking on Jason CK and the Cincinnati Bengals in the first matchup in the Buffalo bracket in the East Region. Now, this East Region is absolutely stacked, folks. There's 7 playoff teams in this region. I did not draw these. Actually, if you want to blame anybody, you can blame my kid, because he's the one that actually drew these matchups. We actually drew them last night. So as we start off, it is the Las Vegas Raiders and the Cincinnati Bengals. Now this could be a true 116-215 type matchup. And both these teams, I believe they had a great matchup earlier. I think they played each other last season, if I'm not mistaken. But Chinatown is going to get the same amount of handicap as he usually gets. Jason will also have 0 handicap. So this is going to be a very intriguing matchup on paper for the defending Super Bowl champions right out of the gate to take on the Las Vegas Raiders. Now we're going to head to the next matchup, in the second matchup in the Buffalo bracket. Now remember, these brackets, Buffalo, each bracket has 2 matchups, and so the format of the tournament is going to go double elimination in the bracket rounds, in the first and second rounds. So basically how it's going to go is each bracket has a pot of 4 teams. 2 of those 4 teams are going to advance to the Sweet 16, and 2 of them are going to be sent packing. So what's going to happen is in these bracket games, if you win, you will advance. And it's just like in NCAA basketball, survive and advance. But if you lose, you are not out, as you have a shot to get to the play-in in your bracket to work your way back to the Sweet 16. So what would happen is here, to use a hypothetical, if the Bengals were to lose, They are not out. They would end up playing the loser of the next matchup, and that team would advance then to the play-in game. And the play-in game involves the loser of the winner of this game will take on the winner of the next game that I will announce, and those teams will match up to go to the Sweet 16. The loser of that game will go to the play-in and will face the winner of the next two games. It's very complicated. It's basically double elimination until we hit the Sweet 16. That's the easiest way of describing it. And we're going to move on here to the next matchup in this Buffalo bracket at Cold Spring Hunt Club. Now, the home and away doesn't really matter in this, as there is no home field advantage. The courses are already pre-selected. This is just like the NCAA tournament. Everything is at a neutral site. So as we move on here, who will be the next teams to take the field here in the East region? Let's find out. The wheel stops at the Los Angeles Chargers. So we got Las Vegas and Los Angeles Chargers, two AFC West teams in this bracket. Well, we know it cannot be the Bengals, so who will it be? Let's scroll through it. They're no longer the Washington football team, but it is the Washington Commanders. That will be the next matchup in the Buffalo bracket in the East region. The Chargers of Bino taking on Coinhen's Washington Commanders. You can call them the Commies if you want. I don't have a problem with that. But as it is, this is going to be a battle. This is two playoff teams from a season ago that are going to take the field, and wow, this is one of these two teams is going to have to lose. That's just the way it's going to be. And for Coinhen, coming off of a little bit of a disappointment in the playoffs, this could be a huge way to start off the Commanders' reign in the March Madness tournament here. What a matchup on paper. As Bino is going to be a tough out as well, as Bino just played lights out all season long last year to get to the playoffs. And we'll see if this course sets up for either of these two squads, how it works. But as it is, to sum up this Buffalo bracket, it's the Las Vegas Raiders and the Cincinnati Bengals in one matchup, and in the other matchup, it'll be the LA Chargers taking on the Washington Commanders. So the winners of those two games will face off, and the winner of that will go to the Sweet 16. The losers of those two games will end up facing each other, and then the loser of that will end up being eliminated, and the winner of that will be in the play-in game to take on the loser of the next game after the two winners have been decided. So it's going to be a bit of a rumble in this bracket, in this Buffalo bracket. Yeah, there's going to be some tables broken in Buffalo, I have a feeling, with these four squads. As we now move to the next bracket in the East region at Rosa Rugosa, Dunes, and Mine, it is the Pittsburgh bracket. Now, who will be playing in Pittsburgh? Let's find out. It's the Pittsburgh Steelers. They get a great draw as they end up staying close to home, and they will be playing in the Pittsburgh bracket against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers of Brandon Carroll. Wow. This matchup is going to have some fireworks, folks. Pat Strife is a playoff team from a year ago, barely made it in, but the AFC was so difficult. And the Buccaneers had a great run into the playoffs until they ran into Tag Rocket. So these are two teams that on paper couldn't probably be more different. The Steelers are more of a defensive squad, whereas the Buccaneers, they're very well rounded now. But we'll see what happens. This is out the window. All the home field and all that is out the window here. As well, Pittsburgh might have a lot of fans showing up because it is in their backyard at Rosa Rugosa. So we'll see if the Buccaneers can travel well with their fans. But that'll be the first matchup in the Pittsburgh bracket the Steelers and the Buccaneers. As we now move to the next matchup in the Pittsburgh bracket, let's find out who we have. The New England Patriots of Franz. Who will he take on in the Pittsburgh bracket? The San Francisco 49ers of Crushtastic Jason. This is going to be another great matchup. Like I said, this East region is absolutely stacked. This is the Beast region for sure. As Franz is a playoff team from a year ago, and I guarantee he may have his game done as soon as everybody, maybe as soon as they get done with this show. But as it is, Franz will be taking on the 49ers, who are also the defending NFC West champions from a season ago. And I think these two teams are going to put on a show in this one in Pittsburgh. So a very intriguing matchup to say the least. This one could go either way. The way the 49ers came on in the middle of the season last year, they kind of tailed off a little bit, but so did the Patriots. The Patriots had a shot at winning the AFC East, and they let it go by the wayside. But as it is, both these teams are in the madness, and they are both slated to face each other in the Pittsburgh bracket. So to summarize this East region, going from the Buffalo region down to from the Buffalo bracket to the Pittsburgh bracket, we got the Raiders and the Bengals, the Chargers and the Commanders, the Steelers and the Bucks, the Buccaneers, and the Patriots and the 49ers. That is your East region, folks. 4 teams are going to come out of here and make their way into the Sweet 16. So we'll find out who those teams will be as the matchups kick off tomorrow. Next, we head over to the Midwest region. Now, this is a little bit of a stat about this region. There are 3 playoff teams in this region from a season ago, so it may not be quite as difficult of a road for some of these teams, but you never know. With the course setups and the way things are, we'll have to find out. But we're going to start it off in my backyard in the Milwaukee bracket for the Midwest region. These games will be at Rath at Scarden Beg, and we'll find out who the first team is going to be in this Milwaukee bracket. The Indianapolis Colts of Scott Pizer. That's right. We have a new owner of the Indianapolis Colts after last season, and he'll be taking on who? The Los Angeles Rams of Kevin. So we got a Colts-Rams matchup here. So this is going to be intriguing, as the Rams have definitely been a solid team in the NFL Stableford League the last couple seasons now under Kevin's ownership. We'll see how the Colts can handle that. The tough. The Rams, we obviously know, Kevin wants his trophy because of what happened in real life, but as it is, in this, the Rams did not win the Super Bowl in the NFL Stableford League, but they did make the playoffs. So kudos to them for that. Whereas the Colts have never really had much success in the NFL Stableford League. But that could all change in March Madness. As we now move to the next matchup in the Milwaukee bracket. We'll go to the left first and find out who we have. It's the Kansas City Chiefs of Ty Lannister, Kike. Who will he be taking on in the Milwaukee bracket? Past it. It's the Chicago Bears. So it'll be the Chiefs and the Bears. 2 teams that used to play each other, I believe, in the preseason every year. And they used to have, I think they shared mini camps together. So these teams have a little bit of a history, not so much in the NFL Stableford League, but 2 teams that had a little bit of a struggle in the past season. And this could be a big opportunity for both these teams, as Lucas is new to the league in this style, joined a little bit later on in the season. but definitely went all in with the Bears and definitely has an opportunity here to maybe make a name for himself in March Madness. But Kike, always a solid player in the league and a huge Chiefs fan, and I'm sure he can't wait to get back at the helm to try to get the Chiefs down into the Sweet 16 in March Madness. So that's the Milwaukee bracket. It's the Colts and the Rams in one matchup, and the Chiefs and the Bears in the other matchup. And those games are at Rath at Skardenbeg. As we now move to the Indianapolis bracket in the Midwest region, who do we have? Skull, it's the Minnesota Vikings of Andrew, who are coming off a pretty darn good season in the NFL Stableford League. Who will they take on? Well, I know this team pretty well. It's the Green Bay Packers. So we have an NFC North rivalry in the Indianapolis bracket. A completely random selection, but two teams that have no love lost for each other. And the Packers got the worst end of the rivalry this past season, but the year before they actually did pretty well against the Vikings. But Andrew against Lefty, and it'll be a great matchup for the March Madness faithful here, as either one of these teams. And the Packers are an underdog. Let's face it. The Vikings have had their number now for a while. So as it stands here, the neutral site, I expect both these fan bases to travel pretty well. And I think at Indianapolis, at CGGC, is where this matchup will take place in the Indianapolis bracket. So a very intriguing matchup here, to say the least. As we now head to the next matchup in the Indianapolis bracket at CGGC in the Midwest region, who do we have? It's the Seattle Seahawks of Chris, who really had a tough season this past go around. But we'll see. It's March Madness now. Anything can happen. And who will they take on? It's the Taft Man's Houston Texans. So the Taft Man has been in made the playoffs this past year. Had a first round exit in the wild card round, but I believe he played Seattle the past season and absolutely crushed them. So this is a little bit. This could be a revenge game here for the Seahawks in March Madness, no less. So both these teams definitely have a lot to prove going forward. Paul's got some great momentum off of the playoff run he had, and definitely he's going to have his same handicap to work with as well. But we'll see how the course sets up, how the stadium sets up, and if the Houston can get a good group of fans to show up in Indianapolis for these games. You never know. But one of these two teams could be Sweet 16 bound. We'll have to find out. As it is, neither of them could make it as it is, because it's only 2 out of the 4 teams in the bracket are going to move on. But one of these two teams is going to get a win right off the bat, and I think it's going to really propel them and really do a lot for their confidence. As that concludes the Midwest region, we'll do a quick recap of these. Starting with the Milwaukee bracket, we have the Colts and the Rams, the Chiefs and the Bears, and then the Indianapolis bracket, we have the Vikings and the Packers, and the Seahawks and the Texans. So this is going to be a pretty much wide open region here. So we'll see how that shakes out as we now head. Well, we're halfway home here in the selection show. As we now move to the next region, the South region, and we have 2 brackets there. We have the Fort Worth, Texas bracket, which will be played at Victoria Gardens, and the Greenville, South Carolina bracket, which will be played at Low Country Yacht Club. So we're going to find out now who is in the Fort Worth bracket, and we're going to do that right about now. As we find out who the first team is going to be, let's scroll through. It's the Detroit Lions of CF, who will be heading down to Texas to take on who? It's the Sky Blue Ben Dallas Cowboys. They get to stay in Texas for their first round matchup in Fort Worth. So this could be a little bit of an advantage for the Cowboys, as we all know they're America's team and they travel pretty well. And well, Ben now gets to break out the cheerleaders again too. But CF had quite a great season last year, making a nice playoff run. So Ben kind of picked up a little bit later on in the season with the Cowboys, but he's had some time now to get acclimated with the weather down there and with the ambiance. And we'll see if the Cowboys can keep it going. After a little bit, they had a pretty decent end of their season. I believe they ended on a win. The Lions, made the playoffs, but unfortunately, I believe they went 1-0. So, but this is a very intriguing matchup here against two teams. I believe, I think they were teammates in the quarterback challenge at one point. But this is going to be an interesting one here in the Fort Worth bracket. As we now move to the next matchup in the Fort Worth bracket, who do we have? Well, we have Cade's Miami Dolphins. That's who we have. Who will the Dolphins take on? It's the Denver Broncos of Austin. Now, the Broncos had a lot of tough luck last season. They barely missed out on a playoff spot due to a tiebreaker, and Cade just had a hell of a season and made a great run to the AFC Championship game. So we're going to find out here between two AFC powerhouses here who is going to advance in this Fort Worth bracket. Now, both of these teams could end up coming out of this bracket, as they are very solid squads, to say the least. But someone's going to get a win right off the bat, and Cade still has a lot of handicap to work with, and Austin still will have 0. So this is going to be quite a intriguing matchup, and I believe these two teams had a little bit of a history. I think they played last season as well. So we'll find out, as this one's probably going to be a showcase game on the slate for this week. I think they're scheduled for the CBS game. So this is going to be intriguing, and don't count Cade out. You just cannot do it. And Cade could win this thing. So we'll find out as we now head down to the low country of Greenville, South Carolina, into the Greenville bracket to find out who we have for that first matchup in that bracket. Well, we got the Cleveland Browns of Tim of Mav Hockey. They're going to take on the Buffalo Bills of Patrick. So the Bills Mafia will be going down south to Greenville to get some new recruits, and so the Dog Pound. So this is another solid AFC battle here in March Madness between two teams that did not make the playoffs in that really difficult AFC. So Patrick was close. He was right on the doorstep. But as it is, the Browns, hey, it's March Madness now. The slate is clean. Nothing really matters except for what you do this coming week now down in Greenville. So the Browns definitely are going to have a new lease on life here, and if they can get a big win against Buffalo and move on in this bracket, that will be huge for them. Whereas the Bills, Patrick, had a little bit of a tough go in some key matchups in the AFC, namely his divisional matchups. So the fact that the Browns aren't a divisional team will probably help here. So we'll see if the Bills Mafia will get a W in this first round matchup. As we now move to the next matchup in this Greenville bracket, who do we have? We have the New York Jets of David Dix. So a little bit of an AFC East flavor here. And who will he be taking on? It's the Philadelphia Eagles of Zuby. So the Battle of the Green down in Greenville. So couldn't have planned that any better. Wow. So Zuby is a rookie. He's only played a few games in the league, and the times he did play, definitely had a little bit of a struggle with getting some points on the board. So we'll see if the last couple of months have helped at all with some of the, master swing acclimation. But as it is, the Jets kind of had a struggle of a season too. I'm not going to say a bad season because they were in the playoff hunt for a while, but they just ran into some tough opponents, and the handicap was more of an issue with the Jets because he wasn't getting any. And the fact of the matter is a lot of the teams that he lost to did have some handicap. But Zuby, I believe, is rated correctly here with the handicap. He's pretty new to the league, but you don't know. You never know. Those are the most dangerous players, so you don't want to take them lightly because the Eagles could definitely soar in March Madness if Zuby can put together a good round down at the Low Country Yacht Club. But as it is, the Jets are going to look to fly high as well. So two teams with who are used to the air are now going to take on each other down in Greenville to decide who the better green team is. So as is, we're going to go through this South region as there were two playoff teams in this region, so it's pretty wide open as well. So other than the East right now, a lot of these other regions are up for grabs. That's for sure. So we're going to start off. We'll just recap the South region. It's the Detroit Lions taking on the Dallas Cowboys, the Miami Dolphins taking on the Denver Broncos in a very good matchup there. The Cleveland Browns taking on the Buffalo Bills, and the New York Jets taking on the Philadelphia Eagles to wrap up the South region. So we got one more region to go, and that is the West. Now, is the West the best? I guess we'll have to find out. But we're going to go first to Portland, as the Portland bracket will kick things off in the West region at Coos Crossing. And who will we have in this first matchup in Portland? Well, we'll have Don Tagrocket's G-Men. The New York Giants will be in Portland to take on the Tennessee Titans of Platypus Brigade. This is an intriguing matchup, as I believe these teams did play each other in the regular season, and I think that was probably at Don's place, as I think he ended up having a pretty decent victory there. But we'll see. I mean, time has gone by. A little time has gone by. The Giants are off a little bit of a heartbreak in the Super Bowl against the Bengals. But we'll see. Will that work in their favor, or will they be still having? Will there still be a Super Bowl hangover? I don't think there will be. I think Don's ready for this March Madness tournament, and we'll see if the G-Men can make a run all the way to the national championship or to the Final Four at least. But as it is, Platypus Brigade, you know he's going to stream. He's solid, and I know he won't beat himself. I mean, he's gonna do the best he can, and he does get a good amount of handicap here. So if the course sets up, if the conditions are right, maybe the Titans could pull off a shocking upset here in March Madness. That's the beauty of it all. It's one game, and even if you win or lose, you know you're still going to get another game because it is a 2-game minimum tournament for sure. So as it is, we have the G-Men taking on the T-Men. So we'll find out who takes that one. As we now move to the next matchup in the Portland bracket, if you haven't heard your name yet, you're going to be coming up here. We'll find out who we have. Who's going to Portland? It's Art Vandelay and the Arizona Cardinals. They're going to be going to Portland. And who are they going to take on? That's the next question. Well, they're taking on the New Orleans Saints. So the Cardinals are going to take on the Saints in Portland at Coos Crossing, as we have a new owner of the Saints for this tournament. It's Arad MCC, otherwise known as Allen. So he's taking this one over, and he's an ex-boxer. So that's going to be interesting, and he does get 2 points of handicap based on his flight that he's in. So we did lose Greg McMillan, which I know he's got some stuff going on right now, and I wish him the best, and I really am glad that he was in the league this past year, and I'm looking forward to having him back for anything down the road that would happen in the NFL Stableford League. So as it is, looking forward to seeing this matchup as both these teams look like they're pretty evenly matched on paper. So we'll have to find out if Art can bring out the Vandalay way in Portland in the West region. So and the Saints, hey, nobody knows what to expect from the Saints. So it's gonna be a fun one. As we now head down to the final bracket of this tournament in the West region, it's San Diego, the San Diego bracket, and that's Santuario is where these games will be taking place, these next two games. Who do we have going to San Diego? The Atlanta Falcons of Prouse. Now, he's relatively new to the league, and we'll see who he takes on. It will be Corey's Jacksonville Jaguars. So we got the Falcons and the Jaguars in San Diego. So not much history, I don't believe, between these two teams, but they're in the same geographic area in the NFL. So a little bit of a southeastern flavor here heading out west. So we'll see what happens as Prouse had a little bit of an up and down few games for when he came into the league. Whereas the Jaguars of Corey just missed the playoffs after taking a runner-up finish in the AFC South to Paul's Texans. So both teams here looking like they're going to have a lot to prove here in the first round of March Madness. Corey, I believe, doesn't get any handicap, whereas Prouse, I think, gets a couple points. So we'll see how that translates here in San Diego. As we now head to the final matchup of March Madness here in the West region in San Diego. Well, if you haven't been called yet, you know you're going to be. And here it goes. It's the Polecat Carolina Panthers taking on Eddie's Baltimore Ravens. So this is going to be a David versus Goliath type matchup here, as the Ravens have been very tough in the past, and this has got the feeling of a 1-6, 1 versus 16, 2 versus 15 type matchup here. But don't put it past the Panthers to pull an upset, as Josiah has been known to pull off some pretty big rounds in the past, and at the most, unexpected times at times. So we'll see what happens. But Eddie is pretty solid. Made the playoffs in a very difficult AFC North, and did win his first round matchup in the playoffs as well. So the Ravens, the very defensive team, but they have Lamar Jackson, who's very tough to tackle, and the Panthers are going to probably have their hands full in this one. So as it is, that is going to wrap up the brackets here in the NFL Stableford League March Madness Tournament. Wow, I'm looking forward to some of these matchups. I'm looking forward to all these matchups, actually, because there's going to be a lot on the line here. One game at a time, really, and survive and advance is the name of the game. Your season could end in 2 games. Your tournament could end in 2 games, or you could go 6 or 7 games. It all depends on how far you can get. So, and each game is going to be a little bit different, as the conditions will be announced at the normal time tonight, and everything will be ready to go with the spreadsheet as soon as I jump off of YouTube here. But as it is, I'm going to do. I'm not going to do a full recap because I'll have everything in the brackets online on the forums shortly here, and I will also link the spreadsheet in the Discord as well. But wow, that was a lot of work. But at the end of the day, everything is done. Everything is done with the spreadsheet. We have everything done with the forum signatures, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how some of these matchups are going to go down in the coming weeks, as there might be some rust. Not going to lie. I'll probably have some as well, as I know I haven't been playing as much, and I'm guessing a lot of people in the league may have some rust as well. So that's definitely going to be a factor. But you gotta scrape it off, just like in the NCAA tournament. It's usually like a 4 day layoff between your last basketball game and then the first one in the tournament. And some teams don't react as well when they get off the plane or get off the bus, uh, and the shots just might not fall. But for some teams, it's just lights out right off the bus. So we'll see what happens, especially with some of these top teams from the season, because really none of that really matters in a one-game format where you know really the first two games are double elimination. So if you lose your first game, you're not out right away. I just did not want to do that to people. So at the end of the day, you will at least get 2 weeks in this tournament. And as it is, I really thank everybody for believing in the league and believing in what I've been doing, and having the kind of return of all the players for this tournament was just awesome to see. I mean, we basically returned 95% of the players, and the one player that didn't return, I mean, has a personal thing. So that in life, and that happens, and that's okay. So as is, I'll have everything posted here after I sign off from this selection show. But I want to thank you for joining me. This is Lefty79 once again. Uh, wow, this has been a lot of fun. I haven't been on YouTube in a little while, so I didn't know if I was going to be a little bit rusty also. But as it is, I'll be doing the weekly wrap up of the tournament as the weeks go by. Uh, as of now, we're going to conclude in the second week of April, I believe, is when the national championship game is set for. So it'll be a game a week. I'm not going to change that. The one wrinkle of this tournament is that if you do win your first two games, you will have a week off, because I did not want to build in two games into 1 week because we had issues in the cup with that. So I just want to keep it one game a week. So if you do win your first two games, you have a built-in advantage of having a week off, as well as you will be playing one of the play-in winners. So anybody that wins two games right off the bat is going to have a little bit of an advantage in the seeding heading into the Sweet 16. So the Sweet 16 is going to go the winners of the brackets who win their first two games are in the Sweet 16 for sure, and they're locked in, and they get a week off to wait to see who the play-in winners will be. And they will be taking on the play-in winner of the opposite bracket in their region. So, case in point, as an example, I'll use the South region. So if I'm in the Fort Worth bracket and say I'm Sky Blue Ben and I'm Dallas, yes, I love the cheerleaders, of course, but say I win my first two games, well, I'm automatically in the Sweet 16 because I won my first two games, and I will get a week off. But now I'll be waiting to find out who the winner of the play-in winner will be for the Greenville bracket, because that's the opposite bracket in my region. And you'll see all this on the spreadsheet in the bracket that I have made. Yeah, it's quite an octopus of a bracket, but it's kind of what I wanted to do because I just didn't want it to be like a one and done type deal. As I know a lot of you guys may not, it might take a game to get warmed up for this, because master difficulty level can definitely creep up on you. But I hope everybody enjoys the tournament for the, I that's what it's all about. That's why I do these events. Is more that, like, I know this game is kind of running its course with people, but I hope, like, having fun events that are NFL themed, or you know March Madness themed and things like that. I hope that brings some enjoyment back for a little while, even if it's not long lasting, or like it's not going to go till August or whatever. But we'll find out. Like, we don't know when the next game is going to drop, so at least in the meantime, we have some things to do that aren't just tours and your run of the mill societies, which kudos to all those societies as well, because it's hard. Like, I ran my own society offline or on PS4, and I lost the passion for it a while ago, because it's just hard to keep coming up with just regular tournament events, and there's only stroke play, and you can't do fun things like this. And that's why I want to do something like this, is to keep the fun going. And who knows? I mean, will Tag Rocket or the Bengals win this thing? You never know, but they're gonna have to beat some pretty good teams to do it. And I don't think it's gonna be a cakewalk. So, but I just want to say once again, thank you for being in the league. And if you're not in the league and you're just watching this as an observer, thank you. I'm glad to have you on the channel. And you know what? Hopefully, this was a little bit, a little bit of a fun thing to view on a Saturday afternoon in the United States. So as it is, I'm going to stop rambling. I hope I gave a really good explanation verbally here, but if not, I'll be on the forums as well to answer any questions, or in the Discord. But I'll have everything posted as soon as I sign off here on YouTube. I want to thank you once again for joining me, and I'll see you again probably around this time next week. I'll probably try to plan for Mondays or Tuesdays to do the wrap-ups for the week. And as it is, this is once again Lefty79 wishing you all a great rest of your weekend and good luck in March Madness. See you down the road to the Final Four.